Black Clover Spade arc is pretty good but very controversial. There are some ups and there are some downs, but there's something undeniable about the Spade arc. Black Clover Spade arc improves on multiple characters in the saga. And in my personal opinion, it does a better job to the Elf arc. Even though I think the Elf arc is peak, I think it does a better job than the Elf arc at doing this. And one of these characters are Nacht Faust of Black Clover, the vice captain of the Black Bulls. When he was introduced, this character changed everything, and in my opinion, he's the most tragic character in all of Black Clover. Now this is very controversial since Patri exists and multiple other characters who possibly had tragic lives, but in my personal opinion, Nacht's life just seems even more sad when you look at it analytically. And I hope you could stay tuned and I can change your mind on Nacht Faust if you like him or don't like him. But before we begin, there are some spoilers from the manga. And if you aren't up to date and are anime only and are waiting for the anime to come back, please, with caution, leave the video. Or if you want to watch and get spoiled, please be mindful to people in the comments. But with all that out the way, let's get into the beginning of Nacht. Nacht's first and last name really means something in German. Nacht's first name, Nacht, being night, obviously derivating from his powers. Faust being a German necromancer who sold his soul to a devil for more knowledge. Now obviously, this ties into Nacht's story. Nacht was the twin of Morgan. Even though he was the oldest, Morgan also meant light. Morgan was Nacht's light. He was the sun who was shining, and Nacht was the darkness. He was the night. These two were severely different even though they were twins. Morgan was a good-hearted person. He joined the Magic Knights and gained people's approval. Well, for Nacht, he was a troublemaker. He was somebody who did petty crimes. He was somebody who earned people's rejection. He was somebody who wasn't really a good person. Nacht didn't really have anyone to relate to until he met Yami. Him and Yami were just alike. They were both outcasted by the Clover Kingdom. They both had the same type of magic and they got off really damn well. Well, that was until Yami joined the Magic Knights. Now, I personally think that Yami deserves his own video where I can go in depth on his character, so if you guys want to see that, comment that down below. But Nacht basically not being a Magic Knight and not being with Morgan and Yami, basically he had no other friends besides those two, and they couldn't even hang out because obviously being a Magic Knight is very busy. But things would change for Nacht once he turned 18, and thinking that they're coming to lecture him, Nacht would immediately tell them to forget that he was the oldest sibling and make Morgan the head of the family, not thinking really too highly of himself and also thinking that Morgan's just better and better suited, but obviously Nacht will be the one to inherit the Faust family because of their devil rituals. Now obviously Nacht being shaken by fear but also malice, he would take this offer because he has a chance to be someone better than Morgan, someone who could do something that Morgan can't. While Yami and Morgan became a duo around the Clover Kingdom as a light and darkness duo, Nacht was deep in his studies of the devil rituals, even making contracts with 4 different mid-ranking devils. Now obviously I'll get into the specifics on them later, but Nacht was doing something that Morgan couldn't and he was ready to take it to the next level. But Nacht got a bit too big for his boots. He immediately was too into the power and too into summoning devils and too much into the malice. He tried to summon the big boss. Yes, he tried to summon Lucifugus, the supreme devil who supports Lucifero and the other devils. Morgan, being logical, would tell Nacht to not do it because it's dangerous, but Nacht would just laugh in the face of danger and tell him that, dangerous, huh? Then this should be really fun. And obviously Nacht would use Yami's trademark, right here, right now, I'll surpass my limit. And these last words are something that Nacht clearly regrets up to this point. Nacht's own selfishness, his own pride, his own ego couldn't let him see the error of summoning this devil Lucifugus, and now everyone in the ritual is dying, including his parents. But Morgan, being the light of everything, he stops the ritual, but at the cost of his own life. All Morgan wanted was to stand beside Nacht and become Magic Knights and save people and be a duo of light and shadows, which obviously couldn't happen because Morgan is now dying, and these words live through Nacht. They drive him to this day. Even though Nacht wanted to differ from Morgan, he still really loved Morgan. He felt like if he stood beside him, he felt like his light would defile Morgan's light because Morgan shined the brightest. He really loved him. He felt like he was the one that should have went. He's the one that should have died because he was the one who was playing with life. He was the one who was doing all this. And Nacht would be begging to the gods, but be honest, who would help someone like Nacht? Nacht is somebody who did multiple crimes. He decided to play with life, and he decided to make multiple contracts with devils, and now he's begging for forgiveness and begging for them to bring Morgan back. There's no bringing back what you did. This is all your fault, and you gotta live with it. Nacht, now sporting the Morgan look, he obviously isn't anything like Morgan. He's an asshole. He smiles condescendingly. He makes fun of people. He obviously exposes them for their flaws or something that they cannot control or their past selves. Nacht is in no way trying to be like Morgan. He can't. He can only be himself. But he can right the wrongs that the Dark Triad are doing because he's just like them. When he was younger, he was doing the same thing they were doing, playing with life, not caring who they hurt. And with Nacht's training with Asta, he constantly sees Morgan inside of Asta. He sees a lot of Morgan in Asta, and he sees how much he was screwed by fate. Fate constantly told Asta that he could not be anyone. He could not be a magic knight. He cannot even be the Wizard King. He has no magic. He was possessed by a devil. But Asta continued to show that he was right and strive towards his dreams. That's why Nacht likes this man so much, because Nacht considers Asta to be a righteous person, but not everyone who's righteous gets what they want. Morgan, for example. Nacht comes into his own against the Twin Devils. Obviously, being the supreme devils of the underworld in the first gate, it's going to be hard for him, but Nacht really does shine in this fight. Nacht doesn't really value his own life. He considers that if he were to die a righteous death, he would be able to redeem himself and would be able to see Morgan again, which is only far from the truth, and that's not why I think what his character needed. In my personal opinion, is a character flaw. Not constantly wanting to die and kill himself is not really a good way to go out, because that wouldn't be redeeming himself. Honestly, that's what I really like about Chapter 286, A Night with No Morning. We already saw that different characters have different people who are the light to them. Patri had licked, and he was gone. And Asta has Yuno is not gone. Xenon had Alan. And we saw what happens when these characters lose their light. They stray away from their path. They not only stray away, there's no point. A night without a morning, there's no point. There's nothing. There's nothing to replace that morning for them. Nacht without Morgan is basically no one. He's basically somebody just aimlessly going on in life, just waiting to die and redeem himself, and fighting unjust evil for the sake of it, even if it kills him. Nacht doesn't consider himself any better than the Twin Devils, but he can't forgive their unjust evil, and that's why he's alive. He's not a hero. He isn't going to be. He's not like Morgan. He never was. He never was trying to be like Morgan, but he wants to stop the Twin Devils, because if they rampage on, they'll continue to spread their unjust evil to everyone. Nacht, even being back into a corner, decides that he's going all out, and now he's going to say the words that he never thought he'd say again. Right here, right now, I'll surpass my limits. Now obviously, he does surpass his limits, being up to a level of Supreme Devil, but he doesn't surpass his mental blockage that's still haunting him, Morgan's death. This isn't really a true surpass your limits moment. This is just Nacht amping himself up in strength and able to fuse his devils within himself. But this doesn't really work. He loses. And just like how Nacht used to play around summoning devils, not caring about the other well-being of others, or seeing how bad it is, the Twin Devils do the same to him. They completely beat him down, and they play with him. Obviously, this is bad, but this is just the embodiment of Nacht's sins. The Twin Devils are the embodiment of Nacht's older self and his sins, because the Twin Devils care nothing for the human race. They play around because it amuses them. Nacht played around in Summon Devils because it amused him and it excited him. I never really understand when people say the Twin Devils were bad villains. The Twin Devils' main purpose was to embody Nacht and his sins, and to be a parallel to Nacht when he decided to play with life and summon devils without even caring about the people around him. Honestly, that's how I personally feel, in my personal opinion. Honestly, the devils can use a lot of work in characterization, but I think Tabata really nailed this one. Obviously, Asta does come and save him as the light to his darkness. Asta wants Nacht to not die and not think that his life means nothing. He wants him to live and see the strength that he helped him gain. And this is where Nacht sees that he's just like Morgan. You see, the reason why Nacht hates Yami so much is because he was just like him in the old age. He was just like him because every time he sees Yami, he just can't really fathom why he acted like this. Obviously, hating Yami, and it's not really Yami's fault, It's just that Nacht just hates himself. Nacht is constantly proven wrong again and again by even the heroes and the Dark Triad, and obviously there is a hidden meaning to that. Black Clover characters have constantly fought against fate, whether it be Asta and his existence anti-magic, and whether it be the other characters in the Black Bulls. Fate has been a reoccurrence in Black Clover, and I wouldn't be surprised while Nacht continues to get surprised by the Black Bulls and other characters because they constantly fight their own fate. I kind of feel like that's why Nacht doesn't really vibe with the Black Bulls that much and isn't really a true Black Bull until the end of the Spade arc. I could definitely make a Black Bull video if you guys want to see that. But the best thing about Nacht is when he fought Lucifero and was ready to give his life again just to save Asta or buy Asta time, and he was even thinking that he would get to see Morgan until Yami, his past, comes up and saves him. Nacht doesn't want Yami to risk his life to save him, because every time he looks at Yami, he reminds him of his past self, and he doesn't want to lose Yami because he feels like he took Morgan away from Yami. And not only that, he doesn't want to lose Yami because that's his best friend. Why would he want to lose him? Nacht throughout this Spade arc has not valued his own life. He considered even dying every time he got the chance. But now, Yami, his best friend, tells him that that's stupid and that he should keep on living and save people just like Morgan. In my opinion, redemption is not redeeming yourself when you just die straight up. Nacht doesn't need to be a spitting image of Morgan, but he can help people just like his brother. Morgan was a kind-hearted soul who was taken from the world too soon. The only plausible thing that Nacht could really do is save people just like Morgan and help them. That's how he can redeem himself, and that's how he should continue living, not trying to die every chance he gets, because even though he feels like he's guilty, he needs to move on and continue moving forward and help people. And this is where Nacht finally gets his surpass his limits moment. He surpassed his mental blockage, and now he's fighting side by side with his best friend and even brother, if you want to consider Yami like that. Nacht is no longer fighting just to die. He is fighting to protect. He is fighting to save the world. And this is a beat that can end off in the Spade arc, because Tabata nailed this character. Lucius being the final villain and can bring back the dead, we could possibly see Nacht versus a Paladin Morgan, which would be very emotional for Nacht, but it could also make him move on from his trauma and live his life how he was supposed to. Tabata's character workings in the Spade arc is nothing short of fantastic, and Nacht is not the only example, but obviously I can get into other characters when I get the chance in the next video. And I want to say this, if you made it this far, thank you for watching this video. And I will say this, I have not been uploading. I've been stuck in college and I've been doing nothing but homework and schoolwork and projects. And honestly, if you're staying for this long and you've been subscribed to my channel, I am sorry, but I will continue to try and make content when I do. When I hit 8K subscribers, I will make a top 15 strongest characters in the Spade arc. So if you guys want to subscribe and see that, then go ahead and subscribe. I will say this, I'm still working on that Lucifero video on how Lucifero should have been beaten. So stay tuned. And if you are new and you like what you see here, leave a like and subscribe. Hit that bell notification to stay notified. And comment down below if I should make that Yami video. But as of now, I'll see you guys later. I'm off.